Hi, I'm Annie Botticelli, and this is the Storyteller Forecast for Taurus for January 2019. Go to my website, anniehelpsyou.com. Check out my blog and other goodies on my site. If you'd love to have a live reading, I would love to give you my insights for you for the upcoming year, the things to expect, how to best work with the energies, and anything else that you have on your mind that I can help with. Also, if you resonate with how I teach astrology, then you will love my astrology apprenticeship program, which may be enrolling right now, depending on when you're watching this. If not, it will be soon. So you can see more about that at anniehelpsyou.com. So what's going on in this new month, this new year? We've got so much new energy. It's crazy. Besides the fact that all of the personal planet retrogrades and their post-shadow periods are past, as of the beginning of January, we also very soon into January will have all of the planets moving direct. This is a rare occurrence and it brings a massive amount of momentum and fulfillment and fruition. We also have major changes coming from the eclipses. You may have already started to see them towards the end of November, all of December. These pieces of news or events could have been coming in. So lots of changes ahead, lots of things closing in a very big dramatic way, and lots of new seeds being planted for new chapters or actual new beginnings starting. Besides all of this, we also have 3 supermoons as the first 3 full moons of the year, including the eclipse. Then they're all at their first degree of their sign. So that indicates, a new beginning, things closing in a big way, things opening in a big way. So we just have so many lines of energy that are showing clean slates, fulfillment, fruition, everything we've been working on in the retrograde cycles coming in a big way. So besides all that, for Taurus specifically, when the planets, the personal planets, start moving into Capricorn, this is an amazing time for Taurus placements because those placements will now make trines with your placements. I'm always trying to point out when we've got trine energy because that's the sweetest combination or aspect in astrology. So at this time of year, every year, you've got the planets that are moving into Capricorn giving little kisses to your Taurus placements. So we'll talk about that. Since the format of using the visual charts worked so well, people have been giving me such great feedback about that, I'm going to show you the actual charts that I'm using for the reading for the early, middle, and late degree placements. We'll talk about the implications for Taurus placements for the second eclipse. Definitely watch my December report as a companion to this report because I talk about the implications of the first eclipse in January in that one. And in this one, I'll show you where the second one's going to be for you and the implications for that. So we've got a lot to cover and I'm excited to go into the juicy details. So let's transition into the charts now. At the end of the Taurus report, I'll also talk about the general transits, which will be the same for everyone, but will affect you nonetheless. And I'll tell you my best, most favorite launch dates of the month. We do have lots of great launch energy, but there are some complications and some little nuisance blocks that I'll tell you about. So I'll give you all the dates for those so that you can be prepared to have your best January possible. Hello, Taurus friends. So if you're still with me, that means you're interested in hearing the breakdown of the early, middle, and late degree manifestations, as well as having the visual for the energies present for Taurus for this month and beyond. So the first thing we have to do is figure out if you're an early, middle, or late degree placement. So the early ones, put you in the April born Tauruses, okay, or 0 to 9 degrees if you know your sun degree, if you're watching for your moon or rising. If you're middle degree placement, then you would be like May 1st through the 10th around. These are estimates because the date the sun moves into each sign shifts a little bit each year. So these estimates are fine though for the purposes that we're using them for. Or 10 to 19 degrees if you know your sun degree or if you're watching for your rising or moon. Then the late degree placements are like May 11th through the rest of the sign or 20 through 29 degrees. Sometimes I get the question, hey, on May 11th, am I, middle or late, really? And if you're on the line there or close, like the 10th, something in there, I would just go with the later one because your chart will probably be more similar to that. Okay, so now I want to answer a question that I've been getting a lot of. And if you're not interested in this question or answer, then definitely just fast forward a couple of minutes because it's going to really make certain important things click for the people who are interested in this. But for those of you who don't care about it, then you have my blessing to scroll past it, and we'll get into the goodies for Taurus. So I have some people who say, Annie, I am trying to follow along in my chart with your reading. It's one of my favorite things to hear because I'm an astrology teacher and I want to help people to learn and, not just tell you what may happen. I want you to understand why and be able to use this yourself, to help you fish rather than just giving you the fish, right? So they say, okay, my sun is in Taurus, but you're talking about, like here, for instance, Jupiter's in the 8th house. That's not matching up in my chart when I look. Why not? That's because you're looking at your natal chart. When you're looking at your natal chart, you very likely don't have your sun sign on your rising sign. Some people have the same rising and sun sign. That's more rare. Usually you have a different rising sign than you do sun sign. And when we run the charts, we put, for the horoscopes, we put the sun on the ascendant. The ascendant is the viewpoint that you look at everything through. So you're viewing the cosmos through this lens of Taurus, and that's where the house placements are determined from the vantage point that you're watching for. So when you have Taurus on the ascendant, that's the sun chart. So if someone has Taurus rising or moon in Taurus or sun in Taurus, it's going to be relevant for them, but it's going to be a different chart for them. Okay, so if you have, let's say, like Libra rising, that chart would have Libra on the ascendant. So if you looked at your natal chart and have Libra on the ascendant, then the houses I'm talking about for Taurus are not going to match up with that, because this is a solar chart, and what you're looking at is a natal chart. They're two different charts. The charts are equally as accurate. They're two at the same time. The way that I describe this is the solar chart, or the sun sign and the ascendant, is one window out a house, and the natal, with your ascendant on the ascendant, is another view out the house. Okay, so here's my beautiful artwork. So if you have these two windows, and there are mountains out this one, and then there's a stream out this one, the fact that you see a stream out this one, and that gives you a feel of what it's like to live in this house, and whatever's happening there, the birds, the sea life or whatever, or not sea life, water life, that is happening. But the fact that that's happening doesn't mean that there's also not the mountain thing and the bears over here. That's happening at the same time. So these are two equally as valid views that are happening at the same time. They're windows out of the same house. You are the house in the case of the charts, and your viewpoint that you're looking at. These charts will give you vantage points that are happening at the same time and both true. Okay, so hopefully that clears that up a little bit. So now let's talk about what's happening for Taurus energy. In general, this time of year is really great for Taurus, because when the personal planets, the sun and then now soon Mercury, start getting into Capricorn, they start making these beautiful 120-degree angles. You know how I love 120-degree angles. They're the best in all astrology. Harmonious. So as these planets move through the sign of Capricorn, they're making 120-degree angles with your Taurus placement or placements. And those are little kisses. So that happens over the months or the time that these planets are moving through there. So in general, very sweet vibes. There's also, of course, these longer term things. These planets are taking a longer time, and in general, they're giving kisses over a longer time. Those are happening at the same time. So just anything in Capricorn is beneficial to Taurus energy. Let's do a quick little check on Jupiter. We talked about Jupiter in November when Jupiter got into Sagittarius. We did a very in-depth discussion, which you can go back and listen to, about where Jupiter is for each sign. But let's do a little check-in. Okay, so at the beginning of November, for early degree placements, Jupiter moved into the 8th and has been accentuating this space, expanding, etc. Okay, let's see where everybody is at, and then we'll talk about it. So now for you middle degree placements, we had said around January you would have it start to move into the 8th house for you, and you can see that that's happening now. Okay, so for you late degree placements, you still very clearly have Jupiter in the 7th house. It's going to be a while before it really gets into the 8th house. Now, sensitive people may start, if you're paying attention, you may start to feel the whispers of it and see certain manifestations, but it's not really going to be in there until later into 2019. And the later you are in placement, the longer it will take to get there. But that's okay. It'll still, be there for the amount of time it will be there. You're not getting denied anything. It's just put off. Okay, so Jupiter for you late degree placements is still very strongly accentuating 7th house. So that means we're really, since the rest of you have 8th house stuff going on, those are all about relationships. So 7th and 8th house are the 2 relationship houses, so that's something in common for all the early, middle, and late degree placements. Relationships are being expanded. But for the late degree placements, this is more about like the one-on-one relationship. So you and your business partner, you and your romantic partner, you and your neighbor who are working on a project, you and your accountant, all of this. If you need to find a practitioner to help you in any way, this is one of the best times when it's in the 7th house. Finding the perfect assistant, finding the perfect person to clean your house or fix your car or something like that. You have extra luck and benevolence for that. And this is also amazing for building a clientele. The 7th house is a relationship building house, and Jupiter wants to build relationships here. Occasionally it can be a little mischievous and expand, amplify some problems so that you can do the healing and get through to the solutions. But in general, it's seeking to add to or to amplify your relationships with other people. And if you're trying to build a business or grow a business, it's amazing for that. So for you middle degree people who now you're having the full glory of Jupiter in the 8th house starting to manifest, and then you early people have already been having this. So the 8th house is another partnership house, but it has to do with your relationship with a person and the resources, not just purely about the relationship. So like you and your money and your spouse and their money, you and your money and your business and their money, you and your family and your resources and their resources, you and a financing company, so like merged resources. A lot of times this can represent people with power and affluence. Sometimes you're the one in that case. Sometimes you're attracting in people to support you. Things like venture capital, if you need financing for anything, Jupiter is helping with all of that. Also can bring luck in winning money. So when the 8th house is aspected, extra good luck with winning money. Inheritances, money coming in from random places, finding money, crazy things. Even looking on a reputable site to find if there's any companies looking for you that you're owed money, like a utility company that maybe you had a deposit, then you moved and they tried to send it back to your old address, but there's no forwarding address. Things like that you might find at this time that, money can come to you. So that's pretty cool. Okay, so now let's talk about the eclipses. Okay, so definitely listen to my December report to hear about the first eclipse of the month, which is on January 5th. It's a continuation of the Cancer Capricorn eclipse cycle, and I go into lots of details about where early, middle, and late will experience that in the December report. I really see that report as a companion to this report for this month because it gives another piece of the picture. Okay, so we have the last Leo Aquarius eclipse at almost 1 degree of Leo on January 21st, or depending on your time zone, it could be days around that. So it's a story that's been going on in the beginning of 2017 through this point now in 2019. And it's been moving you along a continuum, and this is the final chapter. You may have noticed stories, themes, occurrences this time had an echo or an origin back from 2008 to 2009. So things you were doing in that time may have been brought up to another level, may have ended, may have gone in a different direction. There's something where there's a parallel to that time that could be relevant. Lunar eclipses tend to bring drama. They tend to bring stress. Sometimes it's happy stress, like just overstimulation or something manifesting you're really excited about. Sometimes it's endings that are not welcome. People have learned to dread eclipses in many ways because radical change is in order. And we don't really know what that's going to be. But often with a full moon, it's very emotional. Sometimes it's happy tears. But, it's very emotional. And this is a Okay, so we have the full moon here. Then it's also a supermoon. And then it's also an eclipse. Okay, so the power of the full moon is really magnified at this time. A very, very powerful full moon. Very dramatic endings and very, lots of clean slate energy, as we've talked about, and we'll talk about more in the general transit report. So let's look at where this can affect you. Every sign can have important milestones or occurrences in Leo energies. So children, creative projects, coming to fruition, notable important things, hobbies, true love, also addictions, certain things culminating with addiction or excess for some people. This can be something super fun, like a bucket list item being crossed off, because the fifth house, Leo, is rules that kind of energy, like something you've always wanted to do. And for some people, it can bring out hidden talents. So if you're drawn to try some things on, you may discover a new love, something that you're really good at that you never realized before. So the houses that this is going to take place in, for you early degree placements, this is going to be in this culmination, drama, ending, something notable in the fourth house of home and family. You middle degree placements have a fair chance of having it here too. Okay, so something notable in home, something notable in family, something emotional, something about real estate, design projects, something about home-based business, anything having to do with that sector. So you middle degree placements, you have a fair share of possibility for the fourth house. When you late degree placements, some of you may experience that fourth house energy as well. But for some of you, that's actually going to be in the third house. Okay, so we're going to talk about third house manifestations as well. The third house has to do with relatives that are not your parents or kids, although parents or kids can really show up in the fourth house. So any relative is really fair game for any of you to have something notable going on with, weddings, births, just notable milestones in a person's life could be occurring at this time for people close to you. The third house also has to do with your devices for communication and your travel things. Okay, so I always tell people to guard your phones. It's more likely that something will happen to them if you have phone insurance. Just pay attention to these things beforehand. The odds are greater of your phone getting wet or dropped or something. So putting protection items, like the protective glass or extra discernment is definitely prudent now. And especially with your cars and as you're driving or walking. I talk about this anytime I see a lunar eclipse in the third house. The odds of an accident or something happening to your car can be increased. I'm not telling you this to scare you. Most people will go through this time and have nothing like that happen. But damage to your car, like when I had eclipses going through this house for me, not being a person that usually has trouble in that area of life, I had 3 things happen over the eclipse time. A snowy branch crushed my windshield. I went to open a sliding window and it shattered. It was held together by the tint, but it shattered. And then there was also an accident. Someone that was driving my car, somebody rear-ended us while they were sleeping at the wheel. And so that all happened in that time. So what I learned from this was many things. Some of it, the manifestations of the third house eclipses, was a very big lesson. But the other thing was that if you get an extra inspection for your windshield, your glass, you can sometimes get the deductible for your glass waived. So if you call up your insurance company right now, you probably have a $500 or more deductible on your windows, glass in the car. But if you have them come out and inspect them, then you could get the the deductible waived. And if anything were to happen in this time or another time, it could save you some serious money. So just kind of practical things like that. Be careful when you're walking. I hope that people aren't texting while they're driving and walking, but this is a time to not be doing that and to be paying extra special attention to the people who are. I did have somebody post when I warned about this, saying that this message saved their life. My words came into their consciousness as they were walking and texting, and they stopped. And at that moment, a car came, and if they wouldn't have stopped, they would have gotten hit by the car. It was moving rather quickly. So just, just be careful. The energies are just, there's a lot of power around this. And for some of you, maybe it's just you get a new car and you've been wanting it and it's so awesome and you're so happy. This is a great month to get vehicles for the most part. There's some dates I want you to avoid for buying things that with Mercury aspects, which I'll tell you in the general transits. But in general, buying new devices, upgrading computers, getting new cars, this is a really good time for that. And maybe that's how the energy will manifest if you've been needing that. So you could have a miracle if you need one, or you could just have an upgrade that you've been waiting for. Okay, so those are the things most on my mind. Now I want to give you these sweet, awesome dates that I love for the month. My favorite launch dates. Some of these dates are my favorite for the whole year even. I want to give you the dates to look out for, to have extra caution. So we're going to go into all that now. Okay, so now let's talk about the general transits. There are lots of important dates to note, and I'm going to go into the specifics of those now. The theme of the month for all signs is radical new chapters and wide open stars. As I mentioned before, this is truly the energy of a new year. It can be a very clean slate. We've had a year of retrogrades, pretty much focusing on the personal planets retrograde, and this is like a really huge clean slate time. So lots of old patterns, lots of old programming, lots of old ways of being, brilliant new chapters opening. There are so many reasons why there's so much newness. So not only are we free finally from the personal planet retrogrades and their post-shadow periods, as of January 6th, we also have all of the planets, including the outer planets, going direct. So this is a very rare occurrence, and these wide open stars will last until February 18th. So it is important to note, however, that even though we have all this energy from momentum and moving forward, we do actually have quite a few astrological clashes this month. So as far as trying to do important things or move forward, there are definitely going to be clashes and impediments, but still the general energy is just very open, and many things that we've been working on can really manifest at this time in a really huge way. So we talked at length about the eclipses. Besides the fact that the eclipses are happening, bringing in new chapters, ending old chapters, and then also besides the fact that the planets, will be all going direct, also the first 3 full moons of 2019 are all supermoons, and they occur at the first degree of their respective sign, which brings even more energy of a clean slate and the instigation of many new experiences and ways of being, opportunities, trajectory changes, and other new beginnings that we have really sought after, or some that arise as a surprise. I often get the question, what is a supermoon? So the supermoon is when the moon is at its closest possible point to, or very, notably close. You ever notice those moons where you're like, gosh, the moon looks really big. Like, whoa. Like that. Then that often is because the moon is actually closer to us. That's why it looks bigger. So when this coincides with the full moon, then it's called a supermoon. Okay, so supermoons definitely carry some similar energy to the eclipses in the way that there's more power behind the full moon. So more things coming to fruition and then opening up. Basically things coming to a major climax and new things beginning. So powerful endings, powerful beginnings are definitely a theme that we're having from the eclipses and the supermoons. So I'm going to go into details about transits that I want you to be very aware of. And do note that if you want a written version of the general transit report a month early delivered to your inbox, then go to anniehelpsyou.com, sign up for my free email newsletter, and you'll get this information in writing and more. So I list all the transits that are most noteworthy, along with some information about what you can expect. So I won't go through all of them in this video, but if you sign up for my free email newsletter, then you'll be able to see access to them. And a lot of people really like that for planning because you can see when the dicey transits are right there written in front of you, not just hearing it on the audio. Also, if you are planning travel, check out my monthly travel astrology reports on my site, astrologykisstravelbliss.com. And if you like written horoscopes from me, then go to cozybysweetstarlight.com. Okay, so those all will give you tons more information about the transits, how you can best use the energies. So, like I mentioned before, there are quite a few clashes this month, and there's some energy that I would call very sobering. And this is typical of this time of year when aspects get together in the sign of Capricorn. It's kind of very, it's very realist. It's like kind of sometimes time to pay the piper, after the Sag transits of just kind of freedom loving. Now this is the time to get organized, get your taxes together, figure out the financial aftermath from the holidays, So it can come with some sobering or even challenging news, reality checks, but this energy is also fantastic for trying to drill long-term things in to your reality. So like on the 1st and the 2nd, we've got the Sun getting together with Saturn in this Capricorn. This Capricorn energy is the kind of, I don't want to make it mad, but we'll call it concerned energy, where you're like, okay, we really have to get down to business here. So that energy will last a few days, and then there's a square with Mercury. So on the 3rd, and then also again, we have, let's see, on the 8th, and then again on the 23rd. So January 3rd, January 8th, and January 23rd, we have squares with Mercury. So expect on those days possible impediments to movement, some, minor speed bumps, challenges with communication. Could feel like a mini Mercury retrograde. So whenever Mercury gets together in the form of a square, it can cause those challenges. So it's going to, Mercury still in Sag is going to come and square, let's see, Chiron. Then it's going to come and square Mars. Then it's going to come and square Uranus over the month. Okay, so particularly that one on the 8th and then the one on the 23rd. So 1, 8, 1, 23. Be extra careful with your physical body and with driving. And, these are the kind of transits that I say, really look out as you're texting. I'm hoping that everyone would just stop texting while they're driving or riding a bike or walking in busy areas. But since I know that's not going to happen, I at least can give you the warning that in the days around those days, there are more chances for accidents, verbal communication accidents, and also physical body and vehicle, and with your devices, like dropping in the toilet, things that would impede your communication through something happening to the device. So just be really careful around those days, extra so. And always remember that I give you the dates of the transits, but the days that we can experience the transits are often before or after the actual transit, because all of the transits have these orbs of energy. So something happens on this day, sometimes we feel that over here or on the day or some point after, because the range of influence of a transit has an orb, and the orb is dependent upon the planets involved. So, from a day to 4 or 5 days, if we're talking about things with the personal planets, before or after. Okay. That's why I say don't hang your hat too heavily on an exact date. You have to more tune in to the feeling. If there's going to be a sweet aspect, and there are going to be quite a few, which I'm going to have you note here, then if you're feeling the vibes in the days before, you don't have to wait till the exact day of the aspect. If you want to lock something in or do something important, then definitely follow your personal flow, how you're personally experiencing the transits. Okay, one more challenging date of note, and there are actually more that I'm listing, but again, you can go to anniehelpsyou.com and see more about those details. But on January 13th, we have the first of 3 passes of Jupiter in Sagittarius squaring Neptune in Pisces. Okay, so let's look at that here. So Jupiter is here. Neptune is here. Now, also a reminder, I know I've talked about this before, but I want to remind you, when we're talking about general transits, these are for everybody. I tack the general transits at the end of the individual reports. So the general transit that you hear for each sign will actually be the same for all signs. I do that for your convenience, so you just listen to it right after your sign-specific report. When we're talking about the general transits, these houses that these aspects are occurring in don't matter. Okay, we're just looking at the relationship between the planets and not the houses. To understand the houses, that's going to be different for each sign. So just kind of ignore, that's why I've scribbled this out over there. All right, so anytime outer planets get together, they're generally talking about a long-term theme. Okay, so this on January 13th is the first of 3 passes, with the second being on June 16th. And then the third and last being on September 21st. And these are all in 2019. Okay, so it's very well indicated to avoid being overly optimistic at this time, and definitely to avoid risk-taking behaviors that may have worked in the past. This is a time when the expansive nature of Jupiter, it just wants to go big, is kind of put into a challenging angle by this energy of disillusionment or confusion or uncertainty or chaos. And I always see these kind of aspects as nice checks and balances that we have from the universe, because we've been on this big expansion spree since Jupiter has gotten into Sagittarius. And we will continue this for most of 2019, where the energy, is in an expansion mode. Even when Jupiter is in retrograde, which isn't yet, but even during that time, there's this story of expansion is really strong, because Jupiter is in the sign that it rules, which is very excessive in that place. So, in the weeks around the 13th, June 16th, June 21st, these hot spots will last weeks at a time. Just be really careful. It's not always the best time to take risks unless you're intuitively inclined, for sure. The odds are more in favor of disappointment now than triumph. I see a positive way to look at this transit, as it helps to show the limits of the expansion that is occurring, because we can't just keep expanding indefinitely in all areas without having a rest or having a check-in or checking sustainability for the things we've, expanded into. It's very helpful for us to have this okay, let's take a step back and evaluate and prepare for future expansion by seeing, if we can manage what we've already done. So we need to have form and structure. We need to have structure to be in form. And so the energy, being very upward moving, this is a time when we're kind of settling into the new norm and taking a break from the frenetic pace of increase. And actually doing that purposely can be a sweet way to avoid lessons from this. Okay, so now let's talk about the juicy stuff. All right, let's get this out of here. I want to talk about my favorite aspects of the month. There are quite a few nice aspects this month, but most of them are coupled with challenging aspects on the same days. So there's kind of this sweet and salty going on a lot of the month. But towards the end, put a gold star around the 22nd. Okay, on January 22nd, Venus, where are you, buddy? All right, so Venus is going to come and get together with Jupiter. So put a big star on the days around this. Now, there are some other aspects around those dates that could be manifesting that could have more challenge. But in general, Venus, ruling love and beauty and money and self-esteem, is going to get together with the great expander. So anytime we have a personal planet, especially Venus or Mercury or the Sun, getting together with Jupiter, it usually means really good news involving money or love, sweet spot, something gelling, money coming in, just something really, really excellent. So I just love that day. Now, if you have to do something business-wise, launching something, oh my gosh, I really love this time. And if it happens to be in anything having to do with Sagittarius efforts, even better. So teaching, learning, speaking, publishing, writing, spiritual pursuits, church-related things, travel, long distance, you know, different countries, different cultures, different languages. There's even more support around those kind of things coming in, news and other things. But you can definitely use it purposely to lock in some good energy. One of those squares I warned you about with Mercury is on the 23rd. So Mercury squaring Uranus. So just, you know, that's going to be happening at the same time. So if things are weird that exact day, don't, you know, just follow your intuition. But I definitely love the energies of this Venus aspect. Now, the two last sweet aspects that are my favorite this month, they're even better in some ways because they're not clouded by another challenging aspect that's kind of stealing some of their thunder. Okay, so let's get that out of there. So on the 25th, we're going to have Mars in Aries trining Jupiter in Sag. Gosh, this little pen is hard to write with. Okay, so Mars, there he is, and Jupiter are going to come together and be in our favorite trine configuration. Okay, and when that happens, that's the sweetest of all astrological aspects. So this is one of my favorite aspects of the month and even the year. Because trines with Jupiter are just awesome. So it's a great day for important things. If your intuition is in agreement and the synchronicities seem to line up, I love this for like launch dates, moving forward, making decisions, you know, and it should be relatively clear from that other aspect that happened on the 23rd, or at least it's diluting. All right, so that's put a sweet spot, sweet gold star there. And then the last aspect is on the last day of the month, that I love, love, love. You can see that the end of the month is kind of more clear in some ways from the general mischief of the month. Also, the eclipses will have happened, so some more clarity might be coming in about those directions. So on January 31st, we have a beautiful Saturn in Cap sextile Neptune in Pisces. Okay, where's our buddies there? Saturn and Neptune. Okay, so sextile is a 60-degree angle, beautiful aspect. And again, like our other aspect that we were talking about with Jupiter squaring Neptune, that's an outer planet challenging aspect. We talked about the implications of that. But this similarly will have 3 passes. Okay, so January 31st is the first pass. The second one is June 18th of 2019, and then the third is November 8th. All right, so on these days, this energy of material gains coming from spiritual focus and pursuits is very strongly brought into the picture. And again, it's like the weeks around this time. So it can also manifest as any beautiful blending of the lesser seen plus the more tangible realms. So this is like a nice bridge time when people who are doing work on the inner planes, doing work with the law of attraction, doing work with, you know, on the levels that are hard to see. Like you could be working really hard and what we call the normal people around you, right, who don't understand what you're doing, might say, you know, everything looks the same in your life. And you say, oh, well, I'm really working. Things are really shifting on the inside. These transits are times when things that you've done on the inner realm can really manifest in a big way. They're like really good affirmations of and confirmations that you're on the right track and that inner work really does work. So I love ending off the month with that kind of awesomeness. And also if you have to plan something important, that is a super sweet aspect to lock in. You know, when you're doing something important, the day you do it on is like a birthday in many cases, depending on what it is. And then that chart, whatever's going on that day, gets locked into the story of what you're doing. That's why doing things, you know, on good dates can be very helpful to the long-term outcomes of what you're trying to do, because you lock in good energy and then that carries, you know, that goes with it for the whole venture. So if you'd like to have a written version of this every month, a month early, go to anniehelpsyou.com. If you are already on my email newsletter list and you're not receiving my emails, I send them out religiously. So definitely check your spam, social, events folders. And if you find them there, move them into your inbox to give your email the you know, the alert like, hey, I want these in my general inbox, because I'm definitely sending them. So if you're not getting them, then contact my customer service team and definitely first look in those other inboxes. So I hope you love the added effects of the visuals, and definitely go to my website, anniehelpsyou.com, where you can see more about booking a private reading with me. I can tell you more about what's coming in the next year from the astrological perspective and all kinds of other things. Also, if you resonate with how I teach and you would love to learn with me, my astrology apprenticeship program is registering now. So definitely check out my website for details about my astrology apprenticeship program. Also, in the beginning of January, my coach certification and online business course will be registering. I have horoscopes and lifestyle blogs, including astrology for wellness blogs, at cozybysweetstarlight.com. And if you're a traveler, check out my astrology travel reports on my website, astrologykissedtravelbliss.com. If you're interested in tarot, you can check out my husband's site. Plus, he also has other information about astrology and some pretty cool offerings. You can check out his website, B.R. Newman, at iamhelios.com, iamhelios.com. So I hope you have a wonderful month, and I'll see you next month. Bye.